Hello, and welcome to Finergy, where we help you achieve financial independence and security. In today's video, we're going to discuss one of the most important elements of personal finance that too many people overlook: building an emergency fund. Life is unpredictable. No matter how well you plan, unexpected expenses like medical bills, car repairs, or job loss can happen at any time. That's where an emergency fund comes in. Having money set aside for emergencies can be the difference between bouncing back quickly and sinking deeper into debt. In this video, I'll walk you through why you need an emergency fund, how much you should aim to save, and the best ways to build it. If you haven't started saving for one yet, don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to get started and how to protect your future. So, let's get into it. Why you need an emergency fund. An emergency fund is one of the cornerstones of good financial health. It provides you with a safety net to cover unforeseen expenses without derailing your financial goals or forcing you to use credit cards or loans. Here's why you need an emergency fund. Unexpected expenses. Life can throw curveballs at any moment, whether it's a medical emergency, a car accident, or losing your job. Having an emergency fund ensures you don't have to rely on high-interest debt like credit cards or loans to cover these expenses. Peace of mind. Knowing you have money set aside for emergencies reduces stress. You won't have to worry about how to pay for unexpected bills, and you can focus on long-term financial planning. Avoiding debt. Without an emergency fund, you're more likely to go into debt when life's unexpected events occur. By saving up an emergency fund, you avoid the vicious cycle of debt accumulation. Financial independence. An emergency fund helps you stay in control of your finances and prevents you from derailing your financial goals. It gives you the freedom to make decisions based on what's best for your future, not based on financial fear. In short, an emergency fund acts as a buffer that allows you to weather financial storms without compromising your other financial goals. If you don't have one yet, it's time to start building. 2. How much should you save for an emergency fund? The next question people often ask is, how much should I save for an emergency fund? The answer varies depending on your circumstances, but a good rule of thumb is to save between 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses. Here's how to determine how much to save. Assess your monthly expenses. Start by calculating your essential monthly expenses, including rent/mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, and any other necessary costs. This will give you a baseline to work from. Multiply by 3 to 6 months. Once you know your monthly expenses, multiply that by 3 for a minimum emergency fund to 6 months for maximum security. For example, if your monthly expenses are $2,000, you would aim to save between $6,000 and $12,000. Adjust based on your situation. If you have dependents, are self-employed, or have a less stable income, it's better to aim for the 6-month target. If you have a steady job and fewer responsibilities, you might be fine with 3 months. Factors to consider. Job stability. If you have a job with a consistent income, a smaller emergency fund may be sufficient. But if you're in a volatile field, a larger fund will give you more security. Dependents. If you have children or other dependents, you may need a larger emergency fund to cover unexpected expenses. Debt. If you're in debt, it's important to balance building an emergency fund with paying down high-interest debt. Ultimately, the size of your emergency fund will depend on your personal circumstances, but the goal is to have enough money saved to cover life surprises without derailing your financial stability. 3. How to start building your emergency fund. Starting an emergency fund can seem daunting, but the key is to take small, consistent steps over time. Here's how you can get started today. Set a goal. First, decide how much you want to save for your emergency fund. Use the formula we discussed in the last section to determine a reasonable target for your emergency savings. Start small. If the total amount feels overwhelming, start with a small, achievable goal. Aim for an initial target, such as saving $500 to $1,000 as a mini emergency fund. Once you hit that target, you can continue building up to 3 or 6 months' worth of living expenses. Automate savings. One of the easiest ways to build your emergency fund is by automating your savings. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your emergency fund account each payday. Even small amounts can add up over time. and automation takes the decision-making out of the process. Cut back on expenses. Look for ways to cut back on non-essential spending. Whether it's eating out less, canceling subscriptions you don't use, or cutting back on entertainment, every little bit you save can go directly into your emergency fund. Boost your income. Consider finding ways to increase your income, such as taking on a side job, freelancing, or selling items you no longer need. Every extra dollar you earn can be funneled into your emergency fund. Keep your emergency fund separate. It's essential to keep your emergency fund separate from your regular spending account. Open a high-yield savings account or a money market account to store your fund where it's easily accessible but not too tempting to dip into for non-emergencies. 4. Where to keep your emergency fund. Choosing the right place to keep your emergency fund is just as important as building it. You want your emergency savings to be easily accessible, but not so easy to spend on impulse. Here are a few good options. High-yield savings account. A high-yield savings account offers a higher interest rate than a traditional savings account, helping your money grow while remaining safe and liquid. Look for an account with no fees and a competitive interest rate. Money market account. A money market account is another good option, offering slightly higher interest rates than regular savings accounts. It's a great choice if you want to earn more from your emergency fund while keeping it relatively accessible. Short-term certificate of deposit, CD, if you're looking for a slightly higher return and are willing to leave your emergency fund untouched for a few months, a short-term CD could be a good option. However, be cautious about locking your money away for too long. Remember, the key is accessibility. You want your emergency fund to be easy to access when you need it most, but not so easy that you're tempted to dip into it for non-emergencies. An emergency fund is essential for financial security. By saving 3 to 6 months' worth of expenses, you can protect yourself from unexpected financial setbacks. Start small, automate your savings, and keep your fund separate to ensure it's there when you need it. An emergency fund is the first step to building long-term financial stability. Start building yours today.